there, this is Heather Feather of Rare Bird Medicine. Thank you so much for being connected to Heather Featherness and connected to Rare Bird Medicine, a entity that was handed to me from the inner levels of mind. And what I want to say today is that today's video is on loving the self. We have a video on air elemental and fire elemental coming up next week. The reason I haven't quite gotten to them is because there are other downloads just coming through as we shift from 2021 to 2022. Love to rhyme. It's so fun. So one of the things we kind of have been talking about is loving the self. There's been excerpts of that in there. I just kind of really wanted to flush up, what does that look like? I feel like many spiritual masters, many teachers, many beings, whether we're talking ascended masters, angelic seraphim, masters that have walked the earth. To me, Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, Yeshua ben Joseph, Jesus the Christed One, Gautama the Buddha, Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhi. To me, there are many, many masters that have walked this earth and given us the opportunity to take a look at what it means to be love informed. And I'm really grateful to them. This teaching is offered throughout the annals of time. I feel like so many things that I've studied, I've spent my life studying spiritual texts, they constantly point back to loving the self. I have found it that experience has been more of the teacher to me as to how to do that. How do we love ourselves? How are we not loving ourselves? One of the ways two-leggeds often are not loving themselves is they're placing a tremendous amount of pressure on themselves to be perfect instead of striving for excellence and evolution. Evolution includes the right and the freedom to learn and to not know and to grow, but instead expecting perfection on a wide variety of topics and placing a lot of judgment or self-criticism on the self when that standard of perfection is not met. I know I've done that. How pleasant. And it's funny because as I was thinking about this video today, I was thinking about how I play video games. I've seen video games being vilified a lot, and we can do kill your TV and all that stuff. But I would say watching a show that isn't necessarily causing you to grow, or playing a video game, or using social media, it can be actually medicinal sometimes to disengage from one's creation and use the fantasy of another person's creation to just give the self a break from the magnitude of your manifesting presence. So I don't really vilify playing video games. It's one of the ways, I often play high magicka and I run around and I make potions, but I notice that I often play video games the same way that I live my life. I play with an expectation to be 100% good. If I get into any activity that's morally gray or feels like it's untoward, I will delete the entire profile of the game and start over so that I can play the entire game 100% good, which is silly. I make a lot of potions, I do a lot of magicka, and I basically run around in these worlds helping people, trying my best to be the highest expression of myself. What I notice in the gameplay, one of the benefits I found from being a video game player is that I often disregard letting my character sleep, letting her eat, meeting her needs, meeting her base needs. So one of the first things I want to speak to around the self-love piece is, are you meeting your base needs? You're the steward of your vessel. Are you checking in on a daily basis and ensuring that you've had enough sleep? Sleep is a really important component of your emotional health during the daytime. If you're not getting enough sleep, and studies and scientific studies have been done on this, you actually, through the getting less sleep, and if you habitually get less sleep, you will increase your level of agitation, irritation, aggravation, and anger. So it lends to unpleasant emotions when we don't allow ourselves to get ample rest, and when we don't make that a priority, it can actually support our emotional health to get enough sleep. Are you getting enough water? If you're experiencing thirst, which Heather does every day of her life because she's not getting enough water, even though she teaches it, she keeps teaching it because we teach best what we most need to learn, and as Richard Bach's book Illusions would state. So one of the things I'm doing is working to be more mindful of choosing water. Last night I was having some drinks, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to have some water because I get to hydrate the self. If you have thirst, you are already dehydrated. Are you providing yourself with food? So sometimes when we have like high expectation of excellence, we can put a lot of time pressure on ourselves. And because we're on a constant state of time pressure, we're not meeting our need to have had enough to eat. And then again, that affects our emotional state because we get what we call hangry. And I can definitely exemplify some irritable qualities and associate myself with that when I'm not meeting some of these base core needs. So that's step one. Are you meeting your base needs? Are you ensuring that you're being a steward of your vessel and that you're caring for your vessel and that you're honoring what a physical body needs to thrive in the world? Are you getting your base vitamins and minerals? I mean, everyone can agree that nutrients should come from food. That's foundational. The absorption rate is much higher. That's really where your nutrients should come from. However, in the modern age, many do not have a diet that is aligned with ensuring they're getting copper, magnesium. We're not necessarily always eating nutrient-dense foods. And if that's one of the things you're not doing, I would actually advocate taking a multivitamin that comes from whole foods, like Mega Foods or New Chapter. There are tremendous companies out there, Shaklee. And you can go to pwc.shaklee.com/earth and self-love. I offer Shaklee to the world because I believe in that product. Or you can go to a natural food store and look for Mega Foods, New Chapter. Those are nutrients that come from foods, and it's probably the second choice if you're not getting enough nutrition in your food. However, the person who wrote the Blue Book, Bill, for AA, was a huge advocate of B6 being a component to aid one to come out of addictive behaviors, that B6 deficiency could actually greatly affect one's emotional states and compound things like alcoholism. So sometimes there are foundational vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that can actually affect the quality of our quality of life in ways. I mean, aside from like cell repair and all the things that getting proper nutrient matrix does for your being, one of the things it can do is affect mood. Most people know that through vitamin D. If you spend 15 minutes in the sun every day, you're going to get enough vitamin D to help ward off depression, because if you have low vitamin D, it can cause more depressive emotional states. So are you meeting your base needs? There's one. Two is, are you placing an inordinate amount of pressure on yourself? So again, when I play a video game, I tend to run towards a quest, I complete the quest, and immediately run towards another quest and complete the quest. One of the things that the shaman I've apprenticed with for many, many years, a brilliant elder named Charles Light Walker, that is in Washington, one of the first things he said to me is like, Heather, you just run up the mountain of life. And I do. I just like keep running. Next quest. Just always trying to achieve. But I really don't take a moment of time to sit and consider the achievement. And the invocation and invitation he gave me as an entity is to move up the mountain a little and then, quest achieved or whatever. Stop, look around, take a moment, remember where you were when you were down there before you achieved that growth and evolution. Take a moment to appreciate, take a moment in your life to appreciate who you're being, how you've grown, what you've come to know. Otherwise, you're just running up a mountain and then dead. Remember to stop, look at the mountain, look at the view, look at you, look at where you've come, look at all you've done. So acknowledging the self is one of the second things I can say. And third in that would be removing pressure being placed upon the self to constantly be somewhere other than where you are. So you can remove that pressure and really step into seeing and witnessing, wow, I've actually gotten much better at boundaries, or I've gotten much better at meeting my core needs, and you can set calendar reminders to support you with meeting core needs. I've had therapists have me do that. But I mean, I notice still when I play a video game, I'm not meeting my character's core needs, which to me is an invitation to check in and go, are you meeting your core needs? Have you done that? So that's one of the places I want to check in. If you're being very hard on yourself, though, placing that pressure to get up to the top of the mountain, or placing that pressure to be in excellence and to be in perfection, you may find that there are ways you are unconsciously placing a lot of pressure on others. And also, if you're not taking the time to slow down, check in, love the self, you may not even be receiving all the love that's being given to you in this life. There are a lot of two-leggeds that are really craving being cherished, being loved, being valued, being seen. However, in order for people to mirror seeing you you would need to see you first. You would need to appreciate your gifts. You would need to honor the gift that you are to the world. You would need to honor all that you be. You would want to acknowledge all those things that you are able to offer and see and share, and your wisdoms and your innate understandings. Every two-legged has understandings. There are plenty of people that can drive tractors or do rocket science. I can't do those things. I appreciate those gifts. We each have distinct gifts. So it's important to take time to acknowledge them. I would say one thing to consider is how much time have you devoted in your life, speaking of time, to the self. I experience on this topic of loving the self, one of the first ways that we do that, so the fourth thing I want to point to, is placing the self on the back burner, putting you, we've called that before, at the bottom of the list. Caring for everyone else that you love so deeply, being empathic, being compassionate, being outward focused, and being sensitive to others is beautiful quality and indicative of emotional intelligence. However, how much of your emotional intelligence is for you? If you have a full cup, it's much easier to pour out some to quench everyone's thirst. But if you're out there trying to quench everyone's thirst from a dry cup, you might find that you're not being as effective at that as you think, So can you take time? The fourth component of loving the self, I would say, is ensuring that you have time. Heather, have you taken time to have a bubble bath with lit candles and just be with your sacred essence? Have you taken time to Palo Santo and cleanse yourself? Have you taken time to read that book you want to read? Have you taken time to honor your devotional focus? The thing is, our lives are shared with others. We naturally, as two-leggeds, bump into other experiences and are often gifted with the perfect right experience for our evolution and growth, even though some of them can be a little challenging and a lot challenging. What I would say is, we also get to choose how much of the time in our life is devoted to our own self-stewardship and self-care. The more that Heather Feather takes time alone to honor her thoughts, honor her feelings, honor who she is, honor her character, clean up any false associations of me I may have adopted from others perceiving or projecting their personality onto me, the more that I take time to do that, to be like, I know who I am and I love me, the more I take time to go within and to be a friend in this temple, the clearer I am as I move through life, how worthy I am, how lovable I am. So how much time in your life, do you have daily practices in which you really take time to consider that every breath you're with you? And that means that you are completely and first and foremost a steward of you. There's no other living creature that you will spend more time with in this life than the self. And are you being a steward and honoring your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health by giving yourself your precious time and attention? And then we can also check in with our desires. I would say another place where sometimes we can be challenged to love the self is we may be aiming for things but never getting to them because we're currently filling a lot of our time and attention with things that we don't really value that much. So just checking in can be a really valuable loving the self practice. Checking in, are there any aspects of my life that are not like I don't really value? I don't really value that I've added that. I don't really value, Heather Feather does not really value as much spending time with technology as she does spending time with nature. And I can tell you there are certain weeks, months, years of my life where I'm spending a lot more time and attention with technology than I am with nature. Doesn't mean I have to be like, no to technology forever, because it's a tool. But am I considering my life? Am I looking at my life design and going, yeah, we need to have nature in there every week because nature is my great medicine. She recalibrates the electromagnetic field of my heart to beat to the rhythm of that which I am. So these are just some tips and tools and tricks to consider in this new year of ours, in this visionary new year. How am I loving the self? You can go to rarebirdmedicine.com, click on the classes link. This is the final day to opt in to a shamanic apprenticeship I'll be offering for the entire year, which is truly devoted to you, loving the self. You can always subscribe on YouTube, like and comment there. I'd love to have your share and communicate with you. May 2022 be a blessing, and may you love yourself deeply. So mote it be.